Hi, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Andra.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Well, as you can see from our title slide here today, we're so glad that you made time to join us and that you prioritize this Zoom webinar in your busy schedules. So we're going to introduce ourselves in just a moment, but I wanted to first go over a little bit of the things to expect for our webinar today. You received this invitation as a result of your fall quarter grades and or your overall unit progress. So based on the fall quarter grades and units, you have entered into the academic notice process, or perhaps you're continuing in the academic notice process. I want to also just pay attention and pay note to the asterisks on this slide that starting in fall 2024, the University of California is referring to, has changed the title from academic probation to academic notice. So all of the rules and regulations remain the same, but the title itself is academic notice. We hope that the Zoom webinar today will help you understand what this process is, and it's not intended to replace advising, and it also doesn't clear your status of being an academic notice. But we're going to go over today, how to get back into good academic standing. So we're hoping that our webinar today will prompt you to visit campus resources and advising in order to discuss your current situation. So a few notes about some housekeeping here. As attendees, your video and audio will be off. We will not be using the raise your hand function, and any chat that you use will be directed directly to us as advisors here, and the chat will not be shared with the group. We are going to be using a Q&A function to ask questions, for you all to ask questions of us. So that will help us manage the questions and make sure that folks get responses. Be aware that you do have the option to ask your questions anonymously on there. So I think you have to check a box to do that. If you don't check that box, your name will be shared. So we caution you of not using any personal information that you wouldn't want shared with the group. We'll also use some anonymous polls throughout the webinar today, depending on how you're joining us from your iPad or your laptop or your phone. The polls will pop up on your screen, and we encourage you to participate. So this can be a community engagement kind of activity, even though we're doing this on Zoom. If you can't see the pop-up, that's okay. We just hope that if you do see the pop-up, that for the sake of us, our conversation today, that you do participate in that. You'll see what we mean as we go on in the webinar. So our content should take about 40 to 45 minutes. We hope to leave a little bit of time at the very end for any questions or reminders of things that have come up in the Q&A. So, and today's webinar is being recorded, and hopefully this one will be the one that is posted on our college website on our academic difficulty page through our advising links. In the meantime, I do encourage you to have, something handy to take notes, take screenshots, to be able to use this as really a tool to help you launch into some action steps. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I've just got to minimize a couple of things here. All right. So just a little bit about me. My name is Lily Bynes. I use she, her, they pronouns. I'm originally from San Diego County, and I've worked at UC Davis for about 20 years now, and all of it has been here in the dean's office, except for 1 year when I worked in undergraduate admissions. I'm an alumna of Chico State, and lived in Oakland for a while when I worked for UC Berkeley. So quite a dated picture here, but there's a picture of my chiquito there. We really enjoy, some of our favorite pastimes is finding museums and hikes up here in the Northern California. And whenever possible, we make it out to the very cold Northern California beaches because we miss the beach from San Diego. So that's me. Andra?
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to see you all here. My name is Andra Soria. I use she, her pronouns as well. Um, a little bit about me is that I have two hometowns. I grew up in Mexico City, so you see a picture of me at the pyramids of Teotihuacan right there. but my other hometown is Tucson, Arizona. I went to the University of Arizona um, for my undergrad and my grad experience. And then I also have two dogs. You can see them right there. I have an Australian Shepherd named Barry Allen and a Corgi Heeler mix named Mina. And I'm a Pisces, and I look forward to us chatting with you some more during our webinar today.
Thanks, Sandra, and a shout out to Aaron and Charles who are joining us in the Q&A. They're going to help out in addressing any questions for you. And so they will be answering those questions as they're coming in. Andra and I are going to go off of video, so you should continue to see or hear our voices, but you won't see our faces, and we'll come back at the end of our Zoom presentation today, okay? So we'll go off of video. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So it'd be nice to see a little bit of rain maybe, but maybe this will bring it into reality. So as I mentioned, you receiving our message today, invitation for this webinar as a result of your fall grades and units. And our office has asked you to take action for academic advising based on your academic notice status. Maybe you have already talked with the dean's office or your major advisor to discuss your progress toward the end of fall quarter. Some of you may have already started to use or explore campus resources to support your future success. For those of you that haven't gotten started yet, that's okay. It's never too late. We hope that attending today's webinar will help everyone to get started exploring or continue exploring the campus resources that can help you return to good academic standing. Lastly, we hope this presentation will prompt you to seek advising and will remind you numerous times throughout this webinar to utilize both your major and the dean's office advising staff. Start with your major advisor and then see us here in the dean's office. Plan to discuss your fall grades and your current winter classes, and maybe start projecting what you plan for spring and summer. Our goal is to guide you back to good academic standing with a reasonable and realistic academic plan. So here's our goals for today. As mentioned earlier, we're going to have some short polls during this workshop. As moderators, we will see your responses, but your responses to the polls are anonymous to other participants. Remember, there are different ways to ask questions using Zoom, but today we're going to use the Q&A to ask questions. Just to make sure that we all know where the Q&A can be found, please find the Q&A function on your Zoom and tell us, where are you viewing this webinar from right now? Okay, so let's see. We're waiting to see if there's folks that have, all right, we've got somebody's on their iPad. Okay. Computer by PC. Y'all are going to the hardware. So where are you? Are you in Davis? Oh, see, somebody said on my apartment, in my apartment. Are you in the coffee house? Everybody's going to hardware. PC. I'm on my MacBook. Are you in Sacramento? Anybody in Woodland? Okay, see, somebody's in the Memorial Union, somebody's on campus. All right, and then we did get somebody posting their PC in the chat. So check to see on Zoom if you can find your Q&A question and answer function. Sometimes some students have reported they have difficulty finding it. If chat really is the only thing that you can find, then, I don't want it to stop you from asking questions. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that.
So let's get started and let's warm up. We want to check your basic knowledge about academic notice. So please respond quickly to the poll that will appear on your screen. So what is academic notice on the basis of GPA? Is it A, below a 1.5, B, below a 2.0, but above a 1.5, C, below a 2.0 GPA, or D, I don't know. It is totally okay if you don't know. We are seeing that B seems to be having more answers, but C is starting to catch up.
All right, we'll take just a few more seconds for folks to respond. And it's okay if you're guessing. That's the point of this.
Yeah, we will learn. And also, if you're not sure what a grade point average is or how it's calculated, please come to the dean's office. Please come see us to discuss that in your next advising appointment. And also review that information on OASIS. There is a tool called GPA Charts and Tools in the section. Under that section, there's another one called GPA Calculator. And you can look through your GPA that way.
All right, I went ahead and shared the results. So it looks like 53% said the answer is B, below a 2.0, but above a 1.5. What's the correct answer, Andra?
The correct answer is B, below 2.0, but above a 1.5. So the university, yeah, requires that you are within that, or it's considered to be academic notice if you are below 2.0, but above a 1.5. So we have our next poll. What is academic notice based on units? So in order to be in good academic standing for minimum progress, which is the basis of units, a student must A, pass at least 15 units each quarter, B, pass an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters, C, pass an average of 13 units each quarter, or D, I don't know. B seems to be overwhelmingly being chosen.
I'll go ahead and end the poll.
All right.
It looks like, yeah, we just had a couple of guesses on C. So 6% of our attendees said C and 94% said B. What's the answer?
It is B. Good job, everybody. So yeah, you need to pass an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters to be considered to be in good academic standing for minimum progress. The average will be measured at the end of each quarter, and students should set a goal that complete an average of 12 to 15 units a quarter, and students that set a goal to complete the 15 units per quarter can potentially graduate in 4 years, or if you were a junior transfer, you may be able to complete your degree in 2 years. But we'll discuss more details about minimum progress in future slides. So for both circumstances of academic notice for grades or academic notice for units, there are different stages to that process. First, let's review the academic notice process for grades. For academic notice, that title is when it is the first quarter in the process and your previous quarter was in good academic standing. Academic notice continued is when you have been in the notice process for 2 consecutive quarters. The key here is that it's 2 consecutive quarters. So if you have a break in between of being in good academic standing, you go back to academic notice. And then subject to dismissal is when you have been in academic notice for 3 consecutive quarters and your grades have not returned to good standing. So either the 2.0 in the quarter or 2.0 if overall UC grade point average. It doesn't take 3 quarters to be subject to dismissal every time. It can happen after just 1 or 2 quarters depending on each student's circumstance. There are several factors that can cause subject to dismissal. This is a great question to discuss during your next advising appointment. Information can also be found in the general catalog. But if your UC GPA is below a 2.0, it's important to discuss with the dean's office strategies to return to that 2.0 for your UC GPA to help you get back in good academic standing. And if you received any D or F grades, you should discuss with an advisor the importance of repeating a class to help improve your UC GPA. It is typically best to repeat D or F grades right away, but each student situation may differ.
So the university requires an average of 12 units for each full-time quarter, and minimum progress is checked at the end of each quarter. Any units completed during quarters where a student is approved for part-time status or a waiver of minimum progress to the Office of the Registrar or from the Student Disability Center, these quarters are not included in the minimum progress calculation. So I just want to mention again that if you are approved for part-time status, that is a petition process through the Office of the Registrar, or if you have a waiver of minimum progress through Student Disability Center, those quarters are not included in your minimum progress calculation. Be careful and don't overload your units just to meet the minimum progress requirement in one quarter. Talk with the dean's office about a strategy to meet this requirement. It's really important to maintain your UC GPA. Part of the planning may include taking classes in the upcoming summer or finding 1 to 2 unit seminars to meet unit requirements in the upcoming quarters. This is very dependent on each student's situation. Be aware that during regular quarters, if you are interested in participating in simultaneously enrolling at a community college and UC Davis, you have to have permission to do that from the dean's office. And this type of enrollment is only permitted for students that are in good academic standing. Depending on your UC GPA, you may want to consider enrolling at UC in the summer. You may be required to do so. Talk to an advisor about how to use community college or UC summer enrollment to return to good academic standing. In the summer, you don't need simultaneous enrollment permission to enroll at a community college, only during regular terms. But we advise that you take a couple of quarters to get back into good standing for minimum progress because, like I said, we don't want you to overload on your units, and that's okay. It's better to spread units out over a few quarters rather than digging a deeper hole for yourself by taking on too many units and impacting your grades and risking not passing a class. Remember, you may need to intentionally take your time with the units, but do it with a plan developed between you and an advisor. Each student situation can be different, so please talk to us in the dean's office to discuss your specific circumstances. So Anda explained the different stages of academic notice for grades. So I'm going to go over the different stages of academic notice for minimum progress. Academic notice is when it is your first quarter in the academic notice process and your previous quarter was in good standing for minimum progress, meaning you were maintaining your 12-unit average per full-time quarter. Academic notice continued is when your previous quarter was academic notice, and you have now been in the process for 2 consecutive quarters, and your unit average for all your full-time quarters continues to be below 12 units. The final academic notice notification is when you have been in the 3rd consecutive quarter of not achieving a 12-unit average in your total full-time quarters at UC Davis. This particular notice will require an advising appointment with the dean's office. And lastly, if you have maintained not achieving that 12-unit average for all full-time quarters by the 4th quarter, you're subject to dismissal and you may be dismissed from the university. We strongly encourage students to talk with the dean's office to review and your major to review a year-long academic plan to restore units needed for minimum progress while protecting your progress in your major and your grades. This is just another visual example for you to consider of how minimum progress stages can flow from quarter to quarter and how spreading things out might be helpful. Again, with the thought process of protecting your grades, in this example, we're only talking about units. So each student situation can be different, so talk it over with the dean's office. Hopefully this visual example can help you with your understanding of how to use this policy in your favor to sprinkle those units that you may need over multiple quarters. For this visual example, you can see that this student remained on academic notice through the end of spring quarter because their plan was to use summer to complete the units they needed for minimum progress. So they would not return to good standing until the end of fall 2025. And good standing is a 2.0 for the quarter and UC cumulative GPA and the 12-unit average for all full-time quarters. It can feel like a pretty complex calculation, which is why we want to talk with you to make sure that your plan is going to match the outcome of returning back to good standing. Once you are back in good academic standing for minimum progress, you are out of the academic notice process. And if you ever return to the academic notice process again for minimum progress, it just starts over again. We're going to review important enrollment dates for your planning towards the end of the presentation as it relates to spring and summer.
Achieving good academic standing can be a process, and it is important to evaluate what has brought you to this spot in your academics. When you came to UC Davis, you came with expectations of doing well. Sometimes unexpected challenges or situations that are outside of your control can occur. The transition to UC Davis can sometimes be harder than anticipated. This is a large university, and the quarter system is really fast-paced, as you may know. So it is not uncommon to feel behind or unsure about where to go for help. Anything from study habits, personal or family issues that may come up, your financial situation, if that changes, if you become ill or injured, all of those things could have an impact on your academic performance. Here on the screen, you will see a few common reasons students have faced academic difficulty. For example, time management, being away from home, study habits, work hours, physical and emotional health, your course schedule. There could be other things. I mean, you're not only a student, you're also a family member, a friend, a partner. There are so many things that you may be that might impact the responsibilities that you have and the things that are going on in your life. Perhaps by now, you have begun to reflect on your academics from last quarter and the challenges that have happened either last quarter or longer than that. So now it is the time to adopt new habits to support successful future quarters. So we're going to open a poll and take the next 10 seconds or so to select from the list what you believe was the main reason that your quarter did not go as well as you hoped. Remember that the responses are anonymous. There could be things like work hours, financial challenges, access to academic advising, family challenges or home responsibilities, physical, mental, emotional health, roommate challenges, housing challenges overall, internet or technology issues, especially, it's windy sometimes and technology can be unreliable. Maybe your course schedule was really packed. We usually don't recommend that you take more than 2 STEM classes at a time. And even so, those classes are really hard sometimes. So I'm taking a look to see, it seems like 62% attributed physical, mental, or emotional health as one of the contributing factors as to why maybe they didn't do as well as they hoped. But also financial challenges. Of course, that is definitely something that will, stick and be a source of stress. It might divide your time. Also, your class schedule or your course selection, which is also why it's so important that you meet with your advisors, not only here at the dean's office, but also in your major, to make sure that you are having a plan that feels good for you and that is sustainable. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that poll. We now know that you can get through this process of academic notice and return to good academic standing with a reasonable and realistic plan. Like Lily shared before, don't feel rushed to get into good academic standing for one reason or another. Make a plan that is sustainable, even if it takes a little bit longer than you'd like. There are also a variety of campus resources to support you and help you. It is important to seek advising so you know all of your options. We've also talked about the factors that might have impacted your classes. So consider any changes or things that you may need to do in the future to address and create a plan of action to help you reach your academic and personal goals. Remember, you are not alone in this process. There are many resources and advising options to help. Be aware that while you're not in good academic standing, you can't change your major. And you also cannot change letter graded classes from pass no pass on or to pass no pass on Schedule Builder. So if a class is only offered as pass no pass grading, you can take those classes, like some seminars, for example. You just can't change a class that is by default letter graded to pass no pass. If at any time during the quarter you start to struggle in your classes, or if life stuff happens, that starts to affect your academic progress, seek advising from the dean's office to explore options for the quarter. Because of the pace of the quarter, it's important to reach out for support when things start to feel a bit uncertain and not wait until the last moment. Many students may experience academic notice at some point in their undergraduate experience, and we are here to support you through this process. It happens, and it's okay.
So in the next few slides, we're going to go over many campus resources. And we're going to strongly encourage you to utilize resources that maybe you haven't thought about being a resource to help you get back into good standing. But being a part of the UC Davis community is important to help your success. So here on this slide, you can see that we're highlighting specifically student health and counseling services and other resources that are at the Student Community Center. And then a third box of resources that are in sort of these standalone locations on campus as well. So the slides that we're sharing with you, the information is not an exhaustive list of everything that's available on campus. There might be things that we just haven't added on here just because of the sake of space and time. But there's certainly something out there for probably every student. So if you are looking for community, if you feel like that has been something that you've been missing, please discuss that with one of the advisors when you meet with us. We'd love to get you connected so that you can take advantage of the things that your fees are supporting for you here at UC Davis. Some students did talk about, mental health and well-being, and the Student Health and Counseling Services has counseling support available. But I also want to let you know that sometimes we hear from students that they are unable to get a timely appointment. If you are in need of counseling and are having difficulty scheduling an appointment, please talk with an advisor as well. Here in the dean's office, we have a satellite provider where we actually have one of the therapists from Student Health and Counseling Services sharing our space here in the dean's office. And sometimes students might be able to meet with her. Her name is Olivia, a little bit sooner than other providers. There's also a program called the Community Advising Network, the CAN program. And if you look that up on Student Health and Counseling Services, the CAN program has providers that are also around different centers on campus and serving different communities. So sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes students are able to find a counseling appointment faster, or a consultation with a CAN counselor a lot faster than the Student Health and Counseling Services. So basically, just don't suffer in silence. Please let us know how we can help you. In the Student Community Center, some of these resources, again, may have programming, resources, student support, different things, and student staff, as well as professional staff that you can talk with. And then lastly, in the Academic Retention Initiatives, SISS, and the Women's Resource and Research Center, I'm going to highlight specifically the Academic Retention Initiatives and SISS, but that's definitely not to forget our resources in the women's, the WRRC. They have tutoring there. They have a lot of other community programming events as well, and many amazing staff, as well as a CAN counselor in their center. So students that are designated as international students, just want to encourage you to take a picture of this or use the QR code there. Although SISS does not have any drop-ins, it is really important that you are proactive in talking with your provider, with your advisor over in SISS about any concerns that you have regarding your student status. Your enrollment is directly tied to your ability to stay in the country. So sometimes our international students really need to be having those different types of conversations with those that can support them related to any reduction in your units, or if you need to take a leave from UC Davis, to talk to somebody. And again, don't suffer in silence, don't function in fear. Get the information from the folks that are here to support you. Our goal across campus is to help you graduate, just as it is your goal to graduate as well.
The academic retention initiatives, as Lily mentioned earlier, were created to serve and are committed to increasing the retention and graduation rates of underrepresented minority students. Specifically, they provide academic support and services to our student communities. So as you see there, we have the Native American Academic Student Success Center, the Center for African Diaspora Student Success, the Center for Chicanx and Latinx Academic Success, Student Success, and the Strategic Asian and Pacific Islander Retention Initiative. The services that these programs provide include but are not limited to academic advising, academic tutoring, academic and cultural programming, first-year Aggie Connection seminars, basic needs support, professional development, again, the CAN counseling, study spaces. They always have snacks. And for all of their events, they have amazing food. So I always encourage you to go. Please also know that you don't need to identify as a member of these particular cultures or backgrounds in order to participate in their events and in their services. Please, if you are interested, attend and participate in the academic retention initiatives that are here for you.
Some additional campus resources. The Office of Educational Opportunity Enrichment Services, also known as OEOES, they house all of these different resources, and they're so varied. Success Coaching and Learning Strategies incorporates workshops. They're one-time 50-minute workshops. I like to think of it as like a UC Davis boot camp for learning, and they're there sometimes to help students from, preventing C's and D's, but also from helping you get from B's to A's. So Success Coaching and Learning Strategies is a great resource to look at. Also, again, some community building, Transfer and Reentry Center, the Veteran Success Center, the Educational Opportunity Program, and Guardian Scholars. I'll highlight here the EOP program. I'm an EOP alum. I'm first generation and from a low-income background student. So if you believe that you may qualify for EOP services or any of these other resources, we encourage you to contact those offices. And then a note about the Transfer and Reentry Center. Those of you that are community college students that transferred to UC Davis, I know at your community college, the Transfer Center was for students that were planning to leave. Well, here at Davis, this is the center that welcomes you in. So if you are a community college or transfer student from another university, this is your center that can help sort of normalize some of your experiences. And again, they have additional programming and advisors there. The Academic Assistance and Tutoring Centers, also known as AATC, has tutoring not only for STEM kinds of classes, math, physics, chemistry, statistics, but also that a couple of econ classes, writing support services, and they also have YouTube videos for some of those STEM classes on their pages. Many students are familiar with the drop-in tutoring that's available, but if you go onto those specific subject area pages, you'll notice that there are specialists. Those are the staff associated to those subject matters, and the specialists oftentimes will also be facilitating workshops, co-classes, or their own office hours that you can go and drop in. Sometimes they're hosting those office hours in the retention centers that we previously mentioned, and again, anybody is welcome to utilize all of those resources. So if you've tried tutoring one way, try it another way, maybe using office hours or one-on-one appointments with the specialists.
Like we talked about earlier, many things can impact your ability to focus on classes and holistic wellness. It's not just physical and emotional. Some students may have challenges with some basic needs as listed right here. If you have issues with finances or food or housing or mental wellness, it is understandable that you would be focusing on those things and not focusing on class. But that is why Aggie Compass is here for you. Um, the basic needs assist the Aggie Compass website includes a basic needs assistant request form that you can complete to indicate what needs you may have at this time, and one of their staff will reach out to you. Their main office is also located on the first floor of the MU, just down the same hallway as the pantry.
So again, just take a screenshot of this and ask an advisor about how you can use these things. I'll highlight on here, the importance of faculty advising as well. Our faculty are sometimes assigned to students in their major departments, but sometimes you may need to ask a major advisor about getting engaged with faculty. I think that when students are pursuing a particular major, you may feel a little disillusioned or maybe not feeling comfortable in pursuit of that major or not really knowing where it's going and how you can, thrive. Faculty advising can be a good resource to get connected to connect those dots for that long-term goal, and also kind of beginning with the end in mind, thinking about the Career Center or using undergraduate research as a motivator, or health professions advising for those of you that are thinking about graduate school or professional school in the health professions, and then the pre-grad and professional school advising. The pre-graduate and professional school advising, you can see some of the pre-graduate, pre-law, pre-education, any of those things through OEOES. But health professions advising, these things that are going to be coming after your bachelor's degree, don't be afraid to go ask them now and let them know, I had a slip up, I'm on academic notice. What do I need to do from here on out in order to still be a competitive applicant in the future? Getting those questions answered, again, can be motivators to help you make changes and solidify those things moving forward. If you start to be uncertain about your major, the online exploration tool called the Major Card Sort, you can access that through a quick search on the UC Davis homepage in the search bubble to type in Major Card Sort. Go through a series of questions and it will help you sort through the over 100 majors and many, many minors that we have here at Davis to help illuminate what areas of things that you're interested in.
So what should you consider moving forward? Hindsight is always 2020. Reflect back on the quarter and on any challenges that you faced. What could have helped you have a different academic situation last quarter? Examples could be maybe using academic services, using office hours, better balancing of school and work, balancing your course load, taking less units, improving time management with online learning. Those are just some examples. I have heard from a lot of students that when they're not in good academic standing, they don't feel comfortable going to and seeking tutoring or support because they feel embarrassed or because they feel like they're letting us down as advisors or they are scared of what we might say to them. But please know that there are so many things at UC Davis to help you, including our staff. We are here to help you. Um, we have so many resources and sometimes it can be overwhelming to sort through. But again, if you don't know where to start, come in and chat with us to review the available resources that are here as it pertains to your individual situation and also to create a plan that is sustainable. We want to see you succeed and we are here for you. This can be your wake-up call for change and improvement. Think about framing your situation positively and don't stay in the past. What's done is done. What happened in fall, happened in fall. We hope that now you have a better understanding of how you came to be on academic notice, what challenges you faced, and maybe what you could have done differently. This is your opportunity to return to good academic standing and be the successful student that you know you are and that we know you are. You made it into UC Davis, so you belong here. You have a partnership with us in advising and community resources to support your success.
So let's create an action plan. And I mentioned earlier how building community can help support you with this plan. As Andra mentioned, sometimes it can feel uncomfortable to have those conversations, especially if you feel like personal or other academic challenges were what brought you into academic notice. But remember that we're here to be partners with you to help you succeed. If you've been trying to resolve this all on your own, now is the time to seek support and allow us to connect you with resources and advising. So I mentioned earlier that I myself am a first generation college graduate, and first generation students are not the only ones that sometimes have challenges in navigating the campus. But through my lens of experience, I know how difficult it can be to navigate a large university. I also know how difficult it can be to ask for help or support given familial or cultural expectations. However, as Andra mentioned, we're hoping that you will seek advice, remind you that you are not an inconvenience to us, and we're here for you. Your pride, ego, shame, fear, or even a strong sense of obligation for being independent may hold you back from achieving success and your goals if you don't use resources to support your success. I know those were things that sometimes got in my way as an undergrad. Students don't set out planning to be in academic difficulty, and we know that despite the stumble, you belong here and you can succeed.
We are going to open another poll. Please think about at least one resource that you can use to help yourself next quarter. As you make that decision, think about how you will ensure that you will use this resource and consider creating a manageable action plan to help you use the resource that you selected. So we see 22% said work on improving learning strategies. So again, the Tutoring Center, OEOES are great resources for that. Utilize study groups and tutoring, balancing school with work, social life, family commitments, talking to somebody, a family member, a counselor, or an advisor for support. Like Lily said, we can't do this alone. We know we don't live in a vacuum. We need community to succeed. So totally. Office hours with professors or TAs. I can say also that sometimes professors seem intimidating, because they seem very knowledgeable and accomplished, but so many of them really love working with students and supporting students. And so even though it's a little bit scary, maybe take a friend to go to office hours, maybe write some questions down ahead of time so you come prepared. Seeking advising about course selection as well. So as we've been talking about, if you have any questions about the class that you should take, meeting with us or with your major advisor is a great idea. Thank you everybody for participating.
I noticed that nobody chose Aggie Compass or financial aid for support. And I also know from previous conversations that finances are sometimes a big impact on academic performance. So if concerns about finances, increase of job or work hours, those types of things have been impacting your academics, please discuss that with an academic advisor. And I strongly encourage you to consider talking with Aggie Compass or financial aid. Sometimes it's just that students don't know what kind of help is there for them. All right, so we're going to get into some important dates, and we're getting close to wrapping up the content for our webinar. So just important things to know about spring quarter. The 10th day of instruction has already passed. That was January 17th. Take a look at your registration, your enrollment, and you'll notice in Schedule Builder when you expand the details for a class, it will tell you if it's a 10-day drop or 20-day drop class. If you're enrolled in too many classes, perhaps already you realize from this webinar that maybe you need to drop a class, while still maintaining 12 units. If it's a 10-day drop, you'll need to come to talk to us in the dean's office. Dean's office can initiate what's called a late drop petition after the 10th day or 20th day drop of a course, and you'll want to discuss what your situation is. Typically, those classes that you're seeking a late drop for, there should be, something that has come up after the drop date that is impacting your academics. But if you're ever struggling in a class and, maybe it's not an extenuating circumstance, but we want to talk with you. We want to know like what's been going on so that we can inform you of your options. And then January 22nd is the 12th day. That was yesterday. So if you were on a wait list, those wait lists expire on the 12th day of instruction. That's the last day to add a class through Schedule Builder. Students can still add a class through permission to add numbers, PTAs. However, we strongly discourage students to add any classes, really after the first week. If you can imagine, it's a 10-week quarter. If you add a class after the first week, you've missed 10% of the class. If you add a class after the second week, you've missed 20% of the class. So be very careful in the quarter system adding classes late. I already mentioned the 20th day. March 4th is the 40th day of instruction. That's the last day to opt for pass, no pass. Now, a reminder, if you're not in good standing for grades, you are not eligible for pass, no pass. It happens all the time where students will go on a Schedule Builder, they change their letter grade to pass, no pass, and then you'll get a notice from the registrar's office that says you're not eligible, and they revoke it and put it back to pass, no pass. Or sorry, but put it back to a letter grade. Just because Schedule Builder lets you do it for a moment doesn't mean that you're actually eligible to do that. So if you're not in good standing, consult with an advisor before you try to attempt to change something to pass, no pass regarding whether or not you're eligible. And also in our college, major requirements should be taken for a letter grade. So always consult with your major before changing a letter graded class to pass, no pass for major requirements. March 14th is the last day of instruction, and why this is important is because if the whole entire quarter is not going well, please seek advising at the very latest, no later than the last day of instruction. That is the last day to submit a cancellation withdrawal form, and unfortunately, sometimes that might be the best option for a student to save their quarter from maybe all Fs. Again, if you're an international student, you'd want to be talking with SISS about how withdrawal impacts your status in the country. Last day of instruction is also the last day for permission to drop, for a late drop for a class. But if you're seeking a late drop on the last day of instruction or even the last week or two of the quarter, late drops are definitely a little bit harder to get as the quarter goes along. So please seek advising as soon as you encounter any challenges. And then thinking about summer, yes, we're already thinking about summer and spring. Spring registration pastimes will be announced on Schedule Builder. Next week on January 27th, you'll see what time your Pass 1 is going to be. So we encourage you to seek advising from your major, schedule an appointment with them ASAP. If you don't know what you plan on taking for spring quarter, those pastimes for spring will be on Schedule Builder January 27th. Pass 1 for spring will be February 3rd to the 14th. And then summer, if you're thinking about taking advantage of UC Davis summer session, if you receive financial aid, there's a lot of information on their website about financial aid during the summertime. Both sessions have registration at the same time. So that's a little bit different than the regular quarters. April 28th is when registration will be open for both summer sessions. And your pastime for that registration date will be on Schedule Builder announced on April 22nd. So you may want to mark that on your calendar. If you're thinking about a California community college, talk with your major advisor about this website called assist.org. That's sort of the decoder that tells you what the translation is of a course at a community college to the equivalency here at Davis. Check their application and registration times for those community colleges and talk with an advisor. As we mentioned earlier, we don't suggest that students repeat any D or F grades that were earned at a UC at a community college. So if you got a D or F here at UC Davis, you most likely need to plan to take it here at Davis, but each student situation can be different and not all DF grades are required to be repeated. So please talk with an advisor about that.
All right, so now that we went through all of that, we want to check your basic knowledge about academic probation based on what we've discussed during today's webinar. So please respond quickly to the polls that will appear on your screen. So this first one is, what is academic notice on the basis of GPA? So a student is on academic notice on the basis of GPA when the quarter and or cumulative UC grade point average is, again, A, below a 1.5, B, below a 2.0, but above a 1.5, C, below a 2.0, or D, I don't know.
Having problems launching the webinar, the poll.
Yeah, for a second I was like, I thought it was me because I've been having tech issues.
No, it's me. So, okay. Well, everybody
Well,
just answer it in your mind. I'll see if I can fix it for the next one.
but as you know, it is B. A lot of people got it right the first time. So below 2.0 or above a 1.5 and above a 1.5. Again, if you have questions about GPA, about how it's calculated, please come and see us so we can talk about that, or check out the GPA charts and tools tab on OASIS. For the next one, what is academic notice on the basis of units? So minimum progress. In order to be in good academic standing for minimum progress, you must pass at least 15 units each quarter, pass an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters, pass an average of 13 units each quarter, or I don't know. And this one open, yay.
I got it.
Thanks, Lily.
I know we're going to get 100% on this one.
Yeah, it's looking like it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Great.
great work, everyone. It is B, passing an average of at least 12 units. What happened?
And it is 100%. Everybody got it right.
Awesome.
So our appointment calendar has opened up again. Hooray! And just for future notice, our appointment calendar is usually blocked in the first 2 weeks, first 12 to 13 days of each quarter. We're meeting with students that are subject to dismissal in the dean's office. And so it is, you won't see available appointments, but our available appointments are now open. So you can schedule an appointment, or you can use drop-in. We have drop-in advising available every single day, both in person and over Zoom. Be aware that Zoom is convenient, and so sometimes that line online is rather long. So some in-person drop-in sometimes is a little bit shorter. So we do encourage you to look for different ways to meet with an advisor. Meet with us, to come in, as soon as you can. And if appointments aren't available, come to drop in, because the quarter goes by way too fast for you to wait on getting support and assistance. Okay, we'll come back on video here. As we wrap up, we've got just a couple minutes, literally a couple minutes left. And this is where we're located. We're located at Marac Hall, next to the Upside Down Egghead. We're open every day in the morning, except for Wednesdays, and all weekday afternoons. So come by and see us. And next Tuesday, talk about creating community. Next Tuesday, did that email go out? Slice of Advising email go out yet?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so watch your email, but I'm going to tell you right now. You can meet all of the advising staff next Tuesday for our Slice of Advising event. I believe we're going to be over in the Student Community Center in the multi-purpose room. That's usually where we are. It's a pizza party. It's a pizza party. Just come and meet us. We're not scary. We want to be there to build community with you, enjoy a couple slices of pizza. We just sit around at tables, and you can come in, grab your slices, sit down, chat with us, just listen to other students' questions, and go. Very low pressure, low stakes event.
Yeah, you don't need to have any questions necessarily. You can just come and get free food. If you need late lunch, come and see us.
Yeah. And then let me look at the Q&A real quick. Just as a reminder, attending the webinar today does not put you back into good standing. This webinar was optional. The recording will be available later. But good standing is a 2.0 for the quarter, 2.0 for your UC GPA, and reaching that 12-unit average for all full-time quarters. Let's see. Oh, the QR code wasn't working. Okay, the QR code was for, you know, maybe that was just a tech issue for me, so I apologize for that. But that was the, it's just the appointments website. So I don't know if anybody can drop that appointments, our advising website. That's what that QR code was going to. If it was this one, it's just that website. There's no like special prize there or anything. So I apologize for that. So the link is live on the chat. Bookmark that link, okay?
And thank you so much to Aaron and Charles, our wonderful fellow advisors, for answering all the questions in the Q&A, as Lily and I were talking to you all about academic notice and how you should come and see us so we can make a plan.
Yeah, and then I saw, yes, so and I don't see, I saw that everybody got answers to their questions, but I also want to mention that for students in academic notice, the email that you receive, and even our subject to dismissal emails, they're kind of a catch-all. It says you're receiving this message because of grades and or GPA, or units, grades and or units. So we want you to come in and talk with us. On academic notice, it's not a required mandatory advising appointment, but as you heard today, each student situation is different. There's a lot of academic policies that we just gave you sprinklings of today. So we want to be able to look at your record, hear your story, see what you plan to do for winter, spring, and summer so that we can help you get back into good standing with a reasonable and realistic plan. So while advising is not required, it is always to your benefit. Subject to dismissal notices have a deadline and they are required advising appointments. So it's a different message that hopefully, you know, you won't have to encounter. But if you do, it's again, not scary. It can be very anxiety filled, but you come in, you talk with us, we look at your whole academic record, who you are. That I mentioned, you know, we're whole people. Your whole people in terms of students. We want to hear your story and see how we can help your academic situation. Any last notes, Andra?
No, I hope that we see people at Slice of Advising on Tuesday. We have all different kinds of pizza. And it's a really good time. Again, you get to meet our entire team. And of course, I'm biased, but I would like to say that we're a pretty cool bunch. So please come and see us.
If you can't make it Tuesday afternoon, we also host a quarterly study break event. The study break is always Tuesdays, the week of finals. Tuesday, the week of finals. And it's usually like from 11 to 1 or 10 to 2, somewhere around there in the middle of the day. So, and study break is just a grab and go kind of event. We're going to be there as advising staff. If you have questions, Tuesday of finals week, you could come by, grab some snacks, healthy and unhealthy snacks. And we always have college merch there as well. And between, you know, your finals and studying. So we want to be here and build community with you. We're so happy that you're here with us at UC Davis, and we want to help you succeed for this next quarter, and the future. So looking forward to seeing you all. I'll leave this slide up for just a little bit more before I shut down the Zoom room, okay? Thanks for making time today, y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.